Such a groovy intro. I like it, man.
I'd agree.
That's cool. You know. Woo! Welcome in episode 234 of Inside the Game, the podcast. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky. It has been a long week, but in the best of ways. We've had a lot of great interviews, a lot of great people that have stopped by the show. Evan Stockton, Alexis Ayala, Alexi Lalas. I got those correct. Also, JP Delacamera yesterday, a great interview. Of course, Tanner White coming up a little bit later on today. Our update around Major League Indoor Soccer, both the men's and women's sides. Got a couple of undefeated teams remaining on the men's side of the coin in both divisions, as well as the women's side. They got a couple of undefeated teams as well. So we're going to ask about that. Also, they have a blue card, apparently, in indoor soccer. I've never heard of a blue card before. This is brand new to me. So Ryan's going to try and get some clarification on that. But Ryan, you looking forward to anything coming up this weekend?
No. Oh yeah, I guess yeah. I forgot about it. Yeah, Michigan Duke. Game of the year.
Yeah.
In the regular season, that's what I'm looking forward to. I think like the cheapest ticket's like $1,000 in Washington D.C. But most importantly, I just want to see Michigan against, one of the title contenders, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, no one in the Big Ten is a title contender outside of Michigan. You really just think of the UConns, the Dukes, the Arizonas, Michigan, or Houston as well. They're another one, but outside of that, I don't really see any other contenders in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, it's March Madness; anything can happen. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like against a national contender, and that's what Dusty May is trying to do. He's trying to schedule a difficult non-conference schedule to see some of the things he might have to fix going on in March.
Oh, and he's had, I mean, a freaking grinder of a non-conference schedule. And you're right, it has been designed that way. We saw that to begin the year, and then obviously here later in the season, taking on Duke will certainly be a big measuring stick game for this team. And then when you get into March, I mean, whatever happens, happens. We know weird things happen in the month of March, and we understand that, but I think you can control everything you can control. And right now, Michigan just seems like they have the perfect formula. Ben Bosher, someone that I respect in this industry that does a really good job with his radio show. I know you know Bosher because you're a CMU kid. He actually grew up here. I love that he's a Whitecaps fan, and I love that he used to go to all the games because I always pick on him.
Now he's a Loons guy.
But he is a Loons guy. Yeah. So he does their on-field entertainment, and then obviously he does the radio show. But it's so funny because the way the radio booth is organized there, you got the one booth and then you got the home booth, but the radio station is in the broadcast booth. So like I was there on the day that Micah Parsons got traded during the summer, and all I heard is Ben Bosher just crashing out in the next room next to me, and I'm like, this kid's just going insane. Rightfully so, though, after figuring out Micah Parsons was coming to the NFC North.
Without Ben Bosher, I would not have worked in CMU athletics. Without him, I would not have worked in CMU athletics. Yeah, we had him and I had a journalism class together, and we did icebreakers, and we were like basically what we wanted to go into, and after the class, Ben comes up to me and is like, "Hey man, my boss is looking to hire a couple more people if you're interested." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I would love to do that." And then of course I email his boss the first time I got his email, and this was like right before I went home. Something happened at home, so I had to go home. And when I email him, my future boss, Andrew Gerber, is like, "Hey, can you do an interview right now?" I'm like, "Oh man, I'm home right now." He's like, "All right, sounds good. I'll see you on Monday." I was like, "Cool." So yeah, no, without him, I would not have worked in CMU athletics. Gotten a couple
awesome,
ESPN
Plus
cool. reps. I would have done the radio without Ben, but I would not have done all the ESPN stuff and all the streaming stuff without him.
And clearly, just to have ESPN on the resume. I mean, I feel the same way about when I did Oakland games. I'm like, at least I can put ESPN Plus on the resume now. Kind of like doing the G League games. It's like it's there. But no, that's awesome, man. Ben's a good dude. They're good people up there. As much as I don't like the Loons because I don't like the Dodgers, they're good peeps up in Midland. But getting into what we want to talk about here today on the show, I wanted to mention the U.S. women's national team, the hockey team, yesterday beating Canada in overtime to win that one. And Ryan, the Michigan theme continues. We talked about Hellebuck yesterday, Commerce, Dylan Larkin from Waterford, and obviously Quinn Hughes from Canton. Megan Keller from Farmington, Michigan, scoring the game-winning goal yesterday. So really, you could argue the state of Michigan has just been better than the rest of the world in this Olympics. They were better than Sweden yesterday, and obviously they were better than Canada just a day ago to take that gold medal game. And I think what feels the most sweet about this to me, outside of the fact that if you're from the state of Michigan, you've dominated in this Olympics, I just like beating Canada in their sport. It's very satisfying. And certainly you got a kick out of it too. I saw that on social media.
No, I just like beating countries in their sport, regardless of what it is. Hockey, yeah, beat them in Canada, you beat England in soccer. Like, I like beating them in their own sport. But yeah, no, I pulled over into a strip mall, which may have been the worst parking lot I've ever been in. I felt like I could have fell, like my car could have went straight down a black hole or something, how big the potholes were. But I pulled over, said it made a video. It's got a handful of comments. I want to read a couple real quick. This coming from Jay Bell. Put a tariff on silver medals, LOL. This coming from David. The Detroit River is flooding from all the Canadian tears. And then Travis responded to it, said maple tears. Corey says, triple the tariffs. Canada should be divided into states now, not provinces.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Lots of memes about eagles and ducks. USA. Very American of you, fitting. And then, suck it, Canada. We're changing your national anthem. And yeah, It's funny with some of the people that have come up with some just memes in here, and it's really good. We got some South Park memes in there too, but no, it was they were loving it on Sports Nation TikTok. They loved that post. So hopefully I can do it for the men's side here in a little bit. I think it's Sunday, right? That's the gold medal game. Hopefully we win today. Play Canada on Sunday, and hopefully I can make another video.
Yeah, good old American North. I love that. I get a kick out of it. My prediction was that it would go the other way around, that they would somehow find a way to lose in a game like that against Canada, but they found a way. They did it. So now it's up to the men's team to go out and replicate that. But it's just cool to see everybody from Michigan having an impact too. If you're in broadcasting, if you're in sports, if you're from the Mitten State, you get a nod from me. So that was really cool. But let's get into our first topic here in hour number 1. I know that was a pretty long intro, but
that's fine.
We were talking a lot about the U.S. men's national team. That's been a theme all week. Obviously, you have Alexi Lalas on, you have JP Dellacamera on. You got to be willing to get into the weeds and ask a few questions about the national team because they're on the front lines. And, of course, we have some really tough matchups coming up before the World Cup. And we mentioned the importance of playing and competing against those top-end sides, but mostly in the World Cup because, according to Landon Donovan and Tim Howard, they won't be sending some of their best players. What did they say specifically, Ryan?
It was more Landon Donovan. It was more of Tim Howard agreeing. But Landon Donovan just said that he thinks that the U.S. is going to do really well in these upcoming friendlies because of a couple of reasons. One, he doesn't think that the Portugals, the Belgiums of the world are going to send their best players. I kind of agree with that because European sides, they have their international windows, their friendlies that we have, they're not friendlies. They're just qualifiers for the Euros, qualifiers for the World Cup. So every game matters. And when you finally get a break on where you don't have to play qualifiers of that magnitude, you might take a step back a little bit. You might ease off the gas a little bit, take your foot off and just kind of, coast a little bit. Just have some fun with the guys maybe in a training session. Maybe not give a couple call-ups to people that you think will already be on the World Cup team. Maybe they need a little bit of rest. Maybe. But Donovan then said on the U.S. side, he goes, these guys are fighting for spots on the team. They're trying to do everything they can to impress Mauricio Pochettino. They're going to try to do everything they can to make sure they're on a World Cup roster spot for the World Cup in their own country. He thinks that they're going to try everything they can, and he still thinks that the starting 11's not there yet. He still thinks that there's a couple people that might not be, or he thinks there's a couple people that are for sure penciled in for the starting 11, but he doesn't think that everyone is penciled in for the starting 11. And he also thinks that my guy Noah Guy Banks should get a call up, and that's right because the kid's an absolute stud. I don't care how old you are. Yep. If you're playing in high minutes in a high league, you should be playing 100%. But no, I kind of agree with Donovan because I don't think those countries are going to bring their best players. I really don't because of, you have to travel across the ocean to get to the U.S. to play in the game. And I think ultimately they want to rest some of their guys because, I mean, look, the summer's massive for all these teams and all these players. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Portugals and the Belgiums, the Germanys of the world rest some of their players in the upcoming friendlies. Or Senegal, I think, is the other one. Whatever the March one is, that's who they're going to rest some of their starters. The tune-up ones where I think Germany's in, that one I think might be a little bit different. But especially in the March window, I don't think we're going to see a ton of high-level competition coming from the other sides.
Yeah, the truth is we're not going to see the best from these countries until the World Cup comes around. Then we're going to see the best of the best. We're going to see the best 11 that they have to offer. For all the reasons that you just mentioned, there's a lot of things. Also, could be nursing injuries. Like, let's not act like there aren't some of our own issues. And Christian Pulisic's not at 100%. A lot of those other players, but then again, Pulisic's not fighting for a position on this team. So, to your point, it's going to be a lot of those players. And to hark back on something that Alexi Lalas said, obviously winning is the big thing when we get to the World Cup. We want to win, we want to advance, we want everything, but progress and seeing something we haven't seen before, all those things can happen within these windows because, again, it is just simply giving the floor to those types of players. Like I think about someone like a Gio Reyna. I think with everything that's happened in his professional career, I think it's natural to assume that is he on the bubble? Is he going to be on the team? Maybe, but what he showed us in the USA uniform in the last two friendlies showed us that he still could be a valuable piece on this team. Someone like a Diego Luna, this window is for him, because we've seen what Brendan Aronson can produce and how valuable he would be if we were to give him minutes in the stretches that he's had. So can he prove himself? So it's going to be fun and exciting for those purposes, but it's always this conflict of we want to see the team win, but also is it all about that, or is it more about the individual focus right now? I would say it's still more about the individual focus because you just need to make sure that you are absolutely certain, if you're Mauricio Pochettino, that the group you're taking with to the 2026 World Cup is the group that you absolutely need. Because right now I look at outside of, I don't know, give me like 6 or 7 players, Ryan, outside of those 6 to 7, it is really everybody in one way or another has maybe a couple things they can do, but they're all kind of on the same playing field. I mean, the truth is yeah, we're building, but it's like it's all depth outside of a handful of players. So where does everybody fit in that? There's just a lot of close battles top to bottom on this team. So you have to sort that out. I wouldn't necessarily say it's good news that we're going to beat them without their best players on the field, because what have we talked about leading up to this point? I'm pretty sure that's why we've succeeded leading up to this point. We only beat Japan because they didn't have their best players on the field. We only beat some of these other sides, Ecuador, because they didn't have their best players on the field. We would have never done that with their best players on the field. So I don't read into wins and losses anymore quite the same way when it comes to these friendlies, because we know that topic is coming up at the end of the game. I just want it to, again, Alexi's point, I just want to see something we haven't seen before. I want someone that we haven't really seen really stand out, go out and just do something spectacular.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but couple of clarification. Ecuador had their best players out there, and we drew with them. Japan, I could give you that one. Uruguay still had a couple of big names out there, and we took
Uruguay.
Care of business.
That's what I meant, not Ecuador. Uruguay, my bad.
Uruguay, did they take it seriously? That was a topic way back in the day when we did that one, and that one didn't end very well, but no, I would like to see us play against Portugal with their best players. I'd like to see us play against Belgium with their best players. I mean, Belgium's not what it used to be. I mean, there's no Kevin De Bruyne, no prime Kevin De Bruyne. There's no prime Eden Hazard. Hazard, I think he's retired. I think he is. No prime Thibaut Courtois. I mean, Belgium used to be a nasty team back in the day. Vincent Kompany, Romelu Lukaku, Kevin Morales. Like they had some guys on that team. Marwan Fellaini, who could have forgot about that guy? But no, they were very good. But no, I ultimately think that I want to see these teams. I want to see the best teams play against the USA's best, because ultimately it's a measuring stick. We just talked about it with Michigan and Duke. We want to see a measuring stick. Granted, Michigan and the U.S. men's national team are in totally different aspects in their team and their situation, where the U.S. is just trying to be one of the top 8 teams in the world, and Michigan is trying to win it all and win a national championship. That's a little bit different, but ultimately I want to see the U.S. kind of measure up against the big name teams, because I've said it time and time again. I think we're done with, did we just beat Mexico? How do we do against Panama? How do we do up against Honduras? Look, those games don't mean anything anymore to me. Like, we've dominated CONCACAF for a couple of years there in the 20s. Did we lose the Gold Cup this year? Yeah, but did we have our best players? No. Did Mexico? For the most part, I would say. But ultimately, I need to see what we do against the top 15, the top 10 teams in the world. Let's see what it looks like against that, because ultimately that's the next step in terms of our soccer development in this country, our soccer nation that is the United States, according to the soccer elite in this country that we saw on the show this week. But no, that's ultimately what it comes down to, is what are we doing against the best teams in the world? What are we doing against them in friendlies? Regardless if they have their best players or not, that's not our fault for Portugal not playing their best players, or Belgium playing their best players. That's not our fault. Yeah. But what does it look like against that, and what does it look like in the tournaments?
Well, and it's still Portugal. It's still Senegal. It's still these places. Okay, the best available options, maybe some of them won't be out there on the field, but you're still playing against these powerhouses in one way or the other. And so I think that the other big thing here is building the confidence of these players at the same exact time. Because I imagine it's hard to build confidence, if playing against Jamaica or Costa Rica or any of these other places. No disrespect to them. A win is a win. I get it. But you're giving them face time against these countries, which, again, is only going to help elevate their game once they get to the World Cup. Because that's we want to be, at some point, it pays to be battle tested before you head into that tournament, regardless of what that looks like. If you win, great. Now you're building momentum. If you lose, okay, well, that was gut check time. Now it's time to go out and play them in the World Cup. Like, you saw it in front of you, and now you get it for real in the biggest tournament, obviously in this country's history. We've talked about that many a time. So that's the other component of this too, is building confidence, allowing them to, again, just stand in front of a country like Germany at the end before they send them off, because we don't normally get to play Germany. I mean, we're playing inside CONCACAF, and it might be a one-off international friendly once in a while, but generally speaking, you don't get that opportunity. So that's what I think this was built for, to kind of get the mentality of this American team to where they need to be in order to go out and actually be ready to compete in the World Cup. Because they might play around some of these players individually in whatever respective leagues they're in, but playing them on the international side when they're all together, all in one, is obviously a very different story. So I think building the confidence is also a big component of this international window heading up to the World Cup.
I know that we talked about, the U.S. and Landon Donovan mentioned that, like, every single player is fighting for a spot. I feel like it'd be the same thing for Portugal and Belgium coming up in March. I feel like it would, but at the same time, I really don't, because they seem like a little bit more established, and they've had their managers for a little bit. And compared to us with Pochettino, who's foreign manager, which to me, that does not matter to me at all. But no, like, there's still a lot of spots I feel like are up for grab, or at least, players teetering on the bubble, the wrong side of the bubble or the right side of the bubble. I mean, look, you're also playing in front of your own country. You're the host nation, one of the host nations for this thing. And I think there's a little bit of pride to wear the U.S. men's national team crest in front of your home fans on your home soil for a couple of months. And look, you don't want to be the team that, embarrasses themselves in front of everybody. That's what Alexi said in 94. Yeah. And Eric Wynalda said in 94, not to embarrass themselves. And I feel like we've graduated at that point to, let's compete, not embarrass ourselves, but we embarrassed ourselves a couple of summer goes in Copa America at home. Yeah. But now it's, what can we do against the big names, and can we make a run?
Right. Well, and if you're gonna embarrass yourself, get it out of the way now. Get it out of the way now. Make your mistakes now. If you're gonna go out, that's true. But if you're gonna go out and get waxed by Senegal 5-1, just get it out of the way now, okay? Before we get to the World Cup, and then maybe that won't happen. So That's there are still valuable lessons to be learned here at the end of the day. But we will step aside here for a moment on the National Soccer Network. When we come back, you want to do maybe a mailbag before
Sure.
Tanner comes in? Sounds like a good idea. FC Bayern Summer Soccer Camps, proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels. FC Bayern Camps deliver elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city and start a promising soccer path. And right now, save $30 on registration by using promo code BayernNSN30 or scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at fcbayernyouth.com. Back live and inside the game, episode 234. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinski. We were talking about a little bit earlier the U.S. men's national team, their international windows leading up to the World Cup. We'll continue to talk about that, but we got Tanner White coming up here shortly, Major League Indoor Soccer, talking about the men's and women's side. But we're going to take a look at social media here, maybe get a few mailbag questions in before Tanner joins us here in about 8 minutes or so. So looking forward to another conversation though with him, Ryan, and it is a thrilling product in a lot of ways. I know that you were watching some of the games, the indoor soccer games, but I think it's funny. It actually pertains a lot in a lot of ways to what we talked about yesterday with JP Dellacamera and how he did indoor soccer games and how it feels in a lot of ways kind of like what we've seen in the Olympics and hockey. Like it's just fast moving, it's electric, it's all of those things. But it is something that we certainly enjoy, and we enjoy having over here on the west side too. We got Lansing, got Muskegon, got a lot of places involved in that. But anyways, do you have some comments that we can get into?
Yeah, just more Foxborough stuff. Also, shout out to Jacqueline Adams, who's just followed us on TikTok. We're at 1,330 followers, trying to get to 2,000 before the World Cup. This one is, again, it's about you. Again, your video is going pretty viral at this point. Let's see. This coming from Julio. Julio the Realtor. Local communities do not make money from the World Cup anywhere. Only corporations make money and taxpayers pay for it. FIFA is a mafia. Well, local communities make money off of it. All these thousands and thousands of people come to your town. What do you mean they don't make money?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, everywhere. I mean, it's a fact. Generally speaking, everywhere FIFA goes, like the countries themselves don't make money. It ends up being a net negative. And FIFA, I mean, obviously they do well for themselves, but yeah, this is something that's expected. This is something that is generally how FIFA does business, and that's what's problematic about it. And it's not about. It's funny because people are like, well, you'll make $20 million easy with the amount of stuff that you sell in your blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, you're right. But how does that help us with the $7.8 million security bill? It's security for the event. What we make after the event doesn't really matter because then the event's over and everybody goes the hell home. What like that has nothing to do with what Nate, I'm talking about.
You just said it. They pay $7 million in a security bill and they make $20 million. There's your answer. What do you mean?
No,
There's
but
your answer.
they're slapping an $8 million bill onto the taxpayers, though. Like, okay,
but then you just said in your example they just made $20 million. The town did. The businesses did. There you go. Boom. Solution. $13 million net.
Great, but that money has to be provided before the World Cup, dude. It's the 20 million that's what you make after the World Cup. Sure, yeah, that's sure. Okay, that's your ROI.
So you made it all.
But they're trying not to pass the burden onto the taxpayer. They're trying not to pass the burden onto the people like you and me who, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to financially benefit from the World Cup. I don't think you're going to financially benefit from the World Cup. I mean, maybe you'll do more stuff for the National Soccer Network, which means you get more money, which, I mean, good for us. That's good for everybody involved. But we're not, we're not the ones that are directly benefiting from this, but FIFA will not hesitate to take our money. So that's what I'm kind of getting at here. But no, they don't have a good track record of necessarily helping out the communities that they go to for the World Cup.
Who cares? The Patriots make dumb traffic every time they play. Suddenly, now this is an issue.
I mean, they do. Yeah, I'm sure they do every time that they play. No, I mean, but this is going to be, I mean, we can admit this is going to be a little bit more than the Patriots, right? I mean, the Patriots are on Sunday. This World Cup is going to be over a stretch of time. And how many games is Foxborough hosting? I keep forgetting what the number is. 7, 8 total matches, I think, is what they're going to host at Foxborough, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, I mean, very, very different scenarios than the Patriots. So, but I mean, I'm sure the Patriots do create dumb traffic. Much like when you have multiple sports teams playing in Detroit.
Olympics, summer or winter, you never get the money back.
Yeah, that I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's an extreme amount that goes into preparing for it. I'm sure. I don't know what the agreements look like in terms of the Olympic Committee. There's not a whole lot in terms of scandals surrounding the Olympic Committee, unless you want to talk about, steroids and Russia and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, there's certain things, but I don't think they financially strip people wherever they go. I don't know. I would have to look into the Olympics, but I'm not sure.
Local businesses would most likely see more traffic during this period, and you seem to be looking out for yourself and not the scale of the community.
I mean, looking out for myself. Well, first of all, I'm not from Foxborough, so I'm not. It's not about me. I'm thinking about the people like you and myself. Again, it might actually, businesses might raise their prices, and yeah, good for them. They're going to make a lot of money, but the financial burden again falls on people that like you and myself and other taxpayers that have to pay for this stuff, whether it be the securities or the other things. That's why to get some guarantee from FIFA that they're going to get some sort of financial assistance to be able to do this is not a ridiculous thing. They're just looking for some sort of guarantee that they're going to, that this is going to work out the way that they want it to, and that they don't, again, have to pass that off. It's not about the businesses necessarily or business owners. Yes, okay, great. They're going to make a lot of money, but they're going to front the bill to the people like you and myself who, okay, great, the World Cup's coming to our town. Cool, exposure, all that other stuff. Awesome. Again, that's, I mean, so what? You want whatever it is for me out of my tax? Like, no, it's my money. I want to keep it in my pocket. Sorry.
Approves massive world-class stadium, then complains about world-class event being hosted in said world-class stadium.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing opportunity. I'm not saying it's not an amazing opportunity, but the people in the comment section that are like backing up FIFA and standing up for FIFA is just fascinating to me. And someone actually commented that, and I'm like, it's not them standing up for FIFA, it's them, they don't like Americans. That's what it is. So that's, it has nothing to do with FIFA, but to stand up for that league, and I don't know, to try and back them up in this conversation is, I don't know, it's kind of cornball activity if you were to ask me, but
we're gonna step Tanner aside. Tanner's on. We'll have Tanner White on the other side of the break.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Back live and Inside the Game. It's Tanner time here on Inside the Game. Tanner White joining us talking about Major League Indoor Soccer on the men's and women's side. What's up, brother?
Hey, good morning, guys. So glad to be back. Let me tell you, the most important thing that's happened since we last chatted, got a haircut.
Same.
Nice.
Same here.
Nice.
Right on.
Me too. Yeah. Look.
You can never tell, right, with the headset on. It happens.
Welcome back in, though, man. How have things been? How have we've been taking a look at some of the standings. Even Ryan and I were chatting a little bit before the show began about what's going on across the league. Still have a couple of undefeated teams on the men's side. Still a couple of undefeated teams on the women's side. Just your take on everything that's gone down since we last chatted.
Yeah, you bet. There are some scary clubs on the top of both sides. I'm with you with MLIS and WMLIS. Boys, let me tell you about my weekend from the WMLIS. So made the trip all the way to Chicago, and I got to see those undefeated Chicago Mustangs. I'm telling you, that team is so fast. They told me, hey, we were watching the Las Vegas games from a couple of weekends ago, and I was chatting with Stephanie Nunez. She's the defending MVP there, the all-time top goal scorer, and she's got all these all-time records, right? And she says, well, watching all these Vegas games, I think that we're playing a lot faster than all these other teams, and I think that we've got an awesome shot here right now. I said, well, go ahead, call your shot then. She's hilarious. She's a great sport about it. But they whomped on Kalamazoo. That's my hometown team, and on Saturday night there, the must split them up 11-4. Was thankful to be on the call for that one, and I was like, man, this team hasn't lost, and I don't know that they ever will. Just indefinitely, they're just whomping on people. Made the trip all the way to Fort Wayne for the next night, and then Kalamazoo took on Fort Wayne again there, and that Kalamazoo side still winless. Towards the bottom of that table there over in the east with WMLIS. Fort Wayne looks like, in all likelihood, they're going to be also in Vegas there in the finals weekend, right? And you're probably talking about them in Chicago, duking it out on that east side. The west of WMLIS, we're pretty sure it's going to come down to Salt Lake City and Phoenix too. Salt Lake City undefeated over there at the top. And on the men's side, I mean, we've talked about the two best clubs up there from what we've seen. Yeah. Cleveland Crunch kind of taken a step back, had 2 consecutive losses in a bad time for them in the season, right? So they're not locked in. Toronto, they beat Fort Wayne, and at 8-0, they have a chance to clinch this weekend. Amarillo, undefeated, same thing. Probably talking about if both of those clubs win, Toronto and Amarillo, that they're going to be the 1 seeds coming out of the North and the South, respectively.
Yeah.
All right, Tanner. So I was doing a game this weekend. I've seen a couple indoor games, and I haven't seen this happening. I didn't even know this thing existed.
Hit me.
What in the world is a blue card? What is that? I've never seen that before until I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday.
Sure. Hilarious. I got to say, we have referees that sometimes think that. We have players that sometimes, okay, what the heck are these cards for? So there's a ton and tons of different things that you can see them enforced for. Too many players, of course, is a big one. But a number of other things that is just beyond a standard foul, but maybe doesn't quite rise to the level of a yellow card. You will see enforced as blue cards. 2-minute power plays, right? So you got to have somebody serve those minutes in the box. And boarding is one that we've started to see enforced more and more. Anytime you kind of, perhaps gently tap somebody into the boards, right? That could happen from time to time. It gets heated, right? To say it nicely as possible. Reckless
charging,
tackle.
cross-checking, all that too.
Sure. Yeah. It sounds a lot like hockey, right, when you say it that way. And there are some hockey type penalties.
That's funny.
That's, again, as long as they don't rise to that level of a yellow. Hilarious that you should say that because, yes, we do have others that, a card gets thrown in a real match and people said, there's a card for that.
Yeah, no, I was thrown off by it. I was
because
I was producing the Rockford Pittsburgh game, and I was like, blue card. I'm like, wait, someone's going out. I haven't been told this before. Like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, they're playing it like as a power play, and I was like, oh well, I guess they're down a man. I think for a couple of minutes. So no, it's definitely a unique aspect of the Major League Indoor Soccer League.
Now, remind me, that was on the goalkeeper, right? I watched a little bit of that game, and I thought that was on the goalkeeper for Pittsburgh. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think so. It was like a collision in the corner or something, or like just a little bit up the field. But I think so. Yes,
Yeah,
no,
I guess
yeah,
I'm
you're right. You're
curious.
right, because then a field player had to come in and he was wearing a penny. Yep, you're right. That makes sense now. Yeah.
Right. That's one of those things we started enforcing this year was goalkeepers serving their own time penalties.
Oh, okay.
And Grant Glorioso up there, awesome guy with Pittsburgh. He's also part of the ownership team. They've got 3 guys who are fantastic players and owners over there with Pittsburgh. And Grant, the goalkeeper, hilarious dude. But so he'll have to serve his own penalty when he gets that card.
Gotcha.
And then, you got to make that keeper change. If you don't have the reserve keeper, then a lot of times you do throw a defensive player in there and just say, hey, figure it out for the next 2 minutes. Let's survive. Or, of course, we give up a goal and he'll come right back in.
Okay, gotcha.
Is there a situation where there could be a 5-on-3 potentially if you get 2 blue cards? Is that something that happens?
You bet. You bet.
Really?
It hasn't
Wow.
happened.
All right.
To stack. You could also get a blue and a yellow stacking on one player if you've got a number of different infractions at one single stoppage. Again, we haven't seen those on either side of MLIS or WMLIS yet, but it is possible.
Interesting. All right. Well, I guess we're learning a lot here, Ryan. I wanted to touch on one of the teams that we had mentioned, Toronto, who has really been really impressive. They have the best goalkeeper. I don't know if it's Philip or Philippe Zendelek, but he's been in goal for them, and he's been outstanding. But 7-0 this year. What are your takes on that team? I feel like they're probably built the best to maybe go win a title, but maybe that's just kind of where I'm coming from. What do you see out of that squad?
I just watched, and Phil Zendelik, I just watched that guy score another goal against Fort Wayne, and I'm like, man, he's another striker out there in addition to the defending goalkeeper of the year. Like, I don't know what you do against this guy.
Yeah.
They're great in possession. They spend a lot of time possessing. They are super physical, and I don't know who's got the game plan to keep them off the board. Now, Amarillo is probably by all means the best defensive squad we've got in the league. And so allowing the fewest goals, and you do the math on them, and you're like, well, Toronto probably wants to play lower scoring tight games too, but they've got this keeper who's a complete wild card, and he's probably, I'm tempted to call him the best all-around player in this league.
Dynamic.
Absolutely, right? The guy is every bit of a top striker and the defending goalkeeper of the year. I don't know what you do. It's tough to say that anybody Toronto meets in the playoffs is really going to take it to them. It's funny because I predicted Amarillo, right, last weekend to repeat, and then now I watched Zendelik in the game that he played in Fort Wayne there, and I thought, man, I don't know.
They got a contender. Yeah.
Tanner, I got a league proposition. I think you guys should change your slogan from "the new era of indoor soccer starts here" to "a lead is not safe. No lead is safe at all." Because I watched a couple games and it's like you have a 4 or 5 goal lead in the first half, and all of a sudden it's tied or you're losing. And especially in the Pittsburgh-Rockford game, Pittsburgh was up 5-1. Ultimately, needed the 9 seconds to equalize. Is this something that happens, often?
I gotta say, there is so much volatility within every single match. Yeah, let's just go ahead and take a look at some of this. And things that happen that turn games around really, really quickly. Goalkeeper changes sometimes. Stacking up the fouls, right? You've got an auto shootout after the 6th foul on one team and a half. PKs, power plays, all of this stuff is just... If you have complaints about the outdoor game, if you say, okay, it's a little bit slow, and sometimes I don't love the outdoor game, that's all fixed. That is all completely taken away here in the indoor game. Again, it's a beautiful game regardless, but truly there is so much volatility within every single match that I think the rules, as we've got them in the rule book now, they make for insane stuff that can happen late in matches. It's really tough to say that anybody's out of it when you've got time on the clock.
Yeah, and that creates that's it's fun to call as a broadcaster. I mean, it's the best ever because it really is fast paced and up and down. And of course, when you talk about scoring goals quickly and pouring it on, it helps to have someone who can do that consistently. And I'm sorry, I got one more team I wanted to ask you about really quickly before we go further into this interview, but that is Orlando. Pair of losses for them, 2 straight right now, but Rafael Tobias is on a roll. Leading the league in goals, leading the league in points. I mean, that kid is special. Is there still room for argument that team can maybe get back into it, get back on the train, and maybe go win a championship? Because I think if you have one of the best goal scorers in the league, you probably give yourself a pretty good chance of being at least in the conversation.
I hear what you mean. Man, Tobias is scary, and I love guys that are super easily identifiable, right? Being broadcasters. The bald head is really, really something that I love to see of that man. When it comes to Orlando, the thing is, just one match left for them. They had a front-loaded schedule. We knew it was going to be, and now I believe they're going to wrap it up with Dallas soon enough. I know that was one that had to get rescheduled and pushed around a little bit. So you've still got Salt Lake City. Here's the thing. On the South side, in the South Conference, there is a lot that could still shake up. You just don't have clinching. Beyond this week and this weekend, we can start to get some clarity. Up until then, not so much. Salt Lake City could go on the run. Technically, Boulder could go on the run. And if Orlando loses that last game in Dallas, we don't expect that. Dallas and Fort Wayne are two winless clubs, right? But say they did. Say Dallas becomes real inspired and they say, no, we're not going to go out without a win here. Say Orlando's got travel issues. They can't have the whole squad that they want there. Then question mark, guys. I'd love to tell you that beyond Amarillo, we really know what's going to happen in that South Conference. Orlando's not in a bad spot because they got up early and they were, at the top of the standings just because they had played more games than everybody else for quite a while. Yeah. And now it's still question marks. Are they a good team? Absolutely. Are they balanced? Absolutely. Solid goalkeeper. You mentioned Tobias has just been lighting it up and is frankly unstoppable even at his age. I could see this Salt Lake City team over in Utah making a run too.
Tanner, just on both the women's side and the men's side, I see goalies, like even in the modern game, even outdoor, it seems like you kind of be good with your feet as well. But I feel like that's really emphasized here in the indoor league because you see, some bad passes could ultimately lead to goals and, generate some attacks. If you're trying to be a really good goalkeeper in this league, do you have to be better with your feet or do you have to be a better shot stopper?
Oh, boy. It's tough to say that the best aren't doing both. I got to say goalkeepers that take shots. Obviously, Zendelik is a standout. He's an anomaly and enigma with Toronto. There is just nobody quite like it. But I do think that ability to drift out, to come out a little bit higher, and to every once in a while just send in a pretty good ball in the direction of the box, just kind of throw it there and see, hey, can somebody pick this up, take some shots with it. I think that is crucial. I think probably the best teams, you see at least a correlation with having a keeper that gets involved in the attacks. Yes, of course, total brick walls are super valuable, and they always will be and always have been. But, yeah, it's tough to say that it's not an X factor or it's not a big advantage to have a keeper that's great with his feet.
It's funny because the similarities with hockey, it just continue with me because you talk about just putting the ball on the net. Something might happen. You might get a deflection. They call it pucks on net in hockey. That's what they call it, right? You just kind of throw it that direction, might take a deflection. Something might happen, might end up in the back of the net. So are there any, I am curious because you've talked about all the different rules. We talked about the blue card, which I think is a fascinating concept. I think the concept of a power play is really cool because I did some MASL games and I don't even remember that being a thing. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember there being a penalty box. I don't remember. Are you guys constantly thinking of new rules and new things that you can maybe try out to test to see, hey, what's the most entertaining product we can possibly create to continue to build this thing? Because I imagine there's a level of experimenting with all of this going on.
There definitely is. We've had talks already at the front office level about making rule changes for next year. Honestly, simplifying our rule book a little bit. There was some carryover from our book to the old Major Arena Soccer League rules, and there's some things that we kind of feel, they're already a little bit archaic. They're already a little bit incongruous with the game that we play right now, and maybe we don't love it. We thought, there is probably a chance that we trim that rule book down, simplify it a little bit. Whatever is better for faster pace of play, more exciting games, I think that's what you have to expect us to do for next season. We'll have and continue to have those chats in our front office and with all of our individual clubs, with all of our expansion clubs that we're expecting, really heavily to get into for the next several years. And I think it is likely that there are some changes coming for next year.
Tanner, are there any matchups that you're looking forward to the most on the women's side and the men's side this weekend?
I am so glad you asked. We are getting best on best over in the WMLIS in the West. You get a rematch with Phoenix and Salt Lake City. That could be a bloodbath. So excited about both of those clubs. Salt Lake City still undefeated there, and they won at Phoenix the first time these two matched up. Now I'm like, man, flips the other way and flip a coin. You know what I mean? Our two top goal scoring clubs over there and best goal differentials, and you just watch them both. You say, wow, they're oh so fast. That was what a lot of people noted with those Las Vegas games a couple of weekends ago is there's a clear stratification over there. They watched Phoenix and they watched Salt Lake City and they say, wow, they look different from the other three clubs over there. I am definitely circling that one on my calendar. I think that should be one of the best that the season has to offer. On the men's side, Pittsburgh at Cleveland on Saturday. That's huge. And I tell you, Lansing at Toronto, that's a tricky one. That Lansing squad has played everybody really, really tight. I've gotten to see and call a number of their games myself, and I've really enjoyed that club. I think that here's the thing. What if Toronto were to really have the wheels kind of fall off? Lansing wins there, and then you start to have maybe Pittsburgh shakes it up if they go on the run. Chicago is still in the mix there. There's just very few clubs eliminated. Those are some of the most influential ones that I'm looking forward to. And boy, Cleveland, they've got to right the ship because losing 2 in a row there when they did, even though they got the one overtime loss, you still pick up a point there. It's like, yeah, but you've got to be in that top 2. Everybody's playing for Vegas right now, and losing 2 at when they did in the season makes it a little bit more tricky. Then you have to actually talk about scenarios.
Well, you talked about it during our first interview with you. Parity is something that's really important, and clearly you guys have that, and it's set up some really exciting matchups here on down the stretch. Tanner, as always, we appreciate you stopping by. Looking forward to chatting again coming up next week. And we're excited to see where this league and these two leagues can go because it continues to. I've seen the product and it's very entertaining, but we got some exciting times coming up. So thank you as always.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thanks so much, gents.
See you, Tanner.
Appreciate you. It's Tanner White. You're on
soon.
Inside the Game. Alrighty. Well, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our soccer conversation here in hour number 1 on Inside the Game. This is break number 2. We'll tell you about Barca Academy, though.
It's 3.
Barca Academy is a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network and the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. You're right, it is number 3. Designed for boys and girls, my bad. Ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy camps follow and replicate the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional coaching staff. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca camp, I see my son grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now for Barca camp.
Sports Nation TV, National Soccer Network, live across your airwaves here for episode 234 on Inside the Game. Nate Wangler joined alongside Ryan Glinski. Got you an update on MLIS as well as WMLIS. A lot of exciting matchups coming up for them. But we move into the next portion of our soccer conversation here in hour number 1. And I know that we don't have a ton of time left, but we can certainly sneak this one in. And it has everything to do with the Boston conversation and the comments and everything that has come from that and the mess that's been created. The statement yesterday that I made, which is obviously something that we've talked about. Does FIFA need the U.S. more than the U.S. needs FIFA? I don't think it's a more than question. I think they need each other. I think it is a match made in hell. I didn't realize I didn't say heaven. Match made in hell. Because the U.S. realizes that having the World Cup here in the United States will probably do a lot for the economy, right? Maybe in the short term, maybe in the long term. It'll also, at the same exact time for USA Soccer, it will certainly improve things. It will make the game more alive to the American viewers because the biggest competition in this sport in the world is coming to the United States. This is such a far cry from a Gold Cup or a Nations League or a Copa America even. It is far different. It is far greater than any of that. So for USA Soccer, yeah, they need FIFA. They absolutely need FIFA to bring their product here. But on the other side for FIFA at the same exact time, they need us too. Because, yeah, you know what? Soccer-specific facilities, and we've talked about that here in the United States, it's, not nearly as much as other places around the world. But where Major League Soccer is now, and obviously with the building boom and the USL, the land size, the money, the resources, everything that the U.S. poses from not only a financial perspective, but just sheer size as well as numbers and materials needed to host this tournament. I'm not sure I'm not sure anywhere else in the world, to be completely honest with you, provides a better opportunity for a place like FIFA to host a tournament with the expanded format and to make more money than they've ever made before. Like, I don't understand where that's illogical, that statement. So when people are like, well, it's an honor, you should be honored. Well, I get it. And I am honored. And I think a lot of people are honored. But to just assume that, well, FIFA doesn't need you. I wouldn't go too far. And we can go into the archives and find places where FIFA has done, again, nothing but kiss you know what to the United States to make sure that this tournament was here and that, flattering the president and everything else along the lines. They've done everything that they've needed to do to make sure that they cozy up next to the USA. Again, a marriage, if you will. Because everybody, in terms of the higher-ups in both of the equations, are going to make out with a good bit of coin. Because there's a lot of potential here in the United States. Even if it's not a traditional soccer power, that has nothing to do when it comes to the business side of what FIFA is expecting to get out of this World Cup. It has nothing to do with it. So that's why I don't think it's more than. I think is they need each other. They need each other is what they need.
I think both of these two are kind of fit for each other, but there's other countries in the world that could host this thing without having to build anything else. Spain, England, France, Germany, everything is in place for a lot of those countries. I think one of the issues with the U.S. in terms of hosting the World Cup is all the traffic and all the travel. A lot of these people are, I think every single person, unless you're an American, you're going to have to walk everywhere or take a bus or use some sort of public transportation. And that's one issue that everyone has kind of mentioned about the World Cup is there is no true public transportation to get, people from places to places to places all over the place. But I think this is going to be the most, the next World Cup will make them more money, and the one after that will make more money, and the one after that will make more money. That's just the simple how money works and everything. You improve so much. But I think that this World Cup, I think, is the best spot to host an expanded World Cup, like you said. I really do, because, there's so many places in the country where where people want to go. But maybe that's also at the same time a negative where, if you're a Spain fan and you have to go to New York one day and then in a couple weeks you got to go out to Dallas or Arlington, Texas, whatever it is, to go watch it. And then the third one's out in LA. So maybe that's maybe a little bit of a negative for a couple of fans where in a couple of country teams that have to travel all over the place because, a lot of the other World Cups is all kind of within like 1 or 2 hours of each other in terms of the cities, in terms of the country. Everyone was like relatively close, but at the same time, some people might be traveling from New York and eventually end up in LA in the group stage. That might end up happening. I haven't looked too in depth into the schedule, but I feel like FIFA would probably know not to keep not move everyone around. Maybe keep them in the same kind of general area. But especially during the knockouts, I feel like everyone's kind of going to be put in one spot. But ultimately, I think this is the best spot for FIFA to make the most money. I think the U.S. sees the opportunity as well. And that's why they had the bid and they did the joint bid, because I don't think there was a joint bid ever before this point. I know the Euros back in 2012 had Poland and Ukraine as a joint bid, and they hosted the whole thing. But I think in a World Cup, I don't believe there's ever been a joint bid with host nations, multiple of them. I know in 2030 it's Spain, Morocco, and Portugal. I think those are the three nations. But no, I think in an expanded field, I think you're 100% right. Would I say FIFA needs the U.S. more? I think they just need all three, really, because Canada and Mexico have really good spots too. And I think that's going to be a trend moving forward all the time. But ultimately, there's one thing that I think that might really screw this thing up, and that's the security of things. And watching Copa America and that disaster in terms of security, especially for the final, especially for a couple other games, I think that is the most worrisome thing for me. I know the heat is obviously going to play a factor, but at the same time, Brazil had that issue. That's Qatar, even though in December had a little bit of an issue with that. That's why I was played in December. But ultimately, all these issues happen around, everywhere. Even Super Bowls, this happens, with certain things. But it all ends up playing itself out and becomes a benefit. But no, I think both of these sides truly need each other, I would say, equally.
Yeah, well, and your concern around the security side of the conversation is exactly why we were having that talk about what's going on in Foxborough. That's the talk, man. Like, they have to make sure that, and it's different. It's different than just a one-off event. It's different than like a playoffs. It's different than you have a game once on a Sunday. It's far different than that. This is a marathon. Like, the World Cup already was a marathon, but now we're doing an expanded field and all this many more games. It's even more of a marathon than what it is before, right? So your concern about, the security and that component of it is completely accurate. And that's why we had that conversation about what's going on in Boston, because that's going to fall onto somebody's lap. And, those people need to get paid in a timely manner. You can't, the funds can't be delayed. I'm not going to go to work as a security for an event in the hopes that maybe I get paid a month down the line. I mean, I've worked at jobs, as an independent contractor. You do that sometimes. You work at a place and you get a month and a half, 2 months down the line. You're like, hey, gentlemen, I don't have my money yet. I don't know where it's supposed to be in my account. It's not. Where is it? I've been in that position before. So people want guarantees before they, sign on the dotted line or before they show up to work. So it's completely legitimate what you're saying. So I'm not saying there's not going to be any concerns or conflicts in that way. I'm just saying the pompous, arrogant belief that, well, FIFA just doesn't need you from the peanut gallery is just not accurate. It's just not accurate. And I realize Canada and Mexico are both important components of that too. It's not just the United States, but we have our issues, and FIFA is not an angel. I feel like every day we see something else skeevy that FIFA is doing, but the truth is that it is something that they want desperately here in the United States. And even JP Dellacamera mentioned it yesterday, Ryan, about how they wanted a professional league in the US. FIFA wanted a professional league in the US. They see the potential in what we have, from landmass to interest, for it being the third most watched sport in our country. There's a lot of business interest in what the United States has to offer FIFA. And so, no, I think it's a match. They both swiped right, and it's a perfect match. It was a super swipe, actually. It was one of those.
No,
I think you have to pay extra for those, but anyways.
JP also mentioned that this is going to be the most revenue, advertising, marketing, all that stuff. I mean, look how much money companies spend on Super Bowls, and that only gets a tenth of the viewership that a World Cup final gets in terms of views for the Super Bowl compared to a World Cup final. So, some of these companies, especially with a global product and how many eyeballs will be watching this thing, you bet your ass that a lot of these companies, the Nikes of the world, the McDonald's, the Adidas, the Under Armours, you bet your ass they're going to be spending a lot of money. And ultimately, I think that's why we haven't seen a ton of Fox ads for the World Cup right now, because, you don't want to blow your budget, in February 20th up to this point when the tournament starts in May, June, that time frame. So, maybe after March Madness, I think you probably start to see, some things start to really pick up in that sense, because at that point, you still have NHL playoffs, MLB just starting, the NBA playoffs. But to be honest with you, that part of the season, the MLB kind of gets into the start of the dog days. The NBA playoffs, I think, are rather boring. I think the NHL playoffs are fun, but NHL isn't really the top dog either. If it was football playoffs, it'd be a different story, but it's the NHL. As much fun as it is to watch playoff hockey, but that we know the numbers in terms of the viewership, but the NBA playoffs are rather boring up until the conference finals, I would say. So, no, I think eventually, after March, we're going to start to see all that stuff start to pick up, and I think especially maybe there's players doing ads that we just don't really know about yet until it comes out. So maybe Christian Pulisic and the Weston McKennies are getting ads. Maybe Landon Donovan, Tim Howard, they're starting to do some stuff as well on the side. So Clint Dempsey, another one. So maybe we'll have to see eventually what goes on. But I think maybe a person that we might see in America ads is going to be Micah Richards. I think Micah Richards is going to be in a handful of ads just because of that show, the Champions League show of Thierry Henry, Titi, Jamie Carragher, Micah Richards, and why am I drawing a blank on the girl's name? Why am I drawing a blank on the girl's name? Oh boy, that's not good. That's not good. Anyway, they just have great banter with each other. And ultimately it's a really good show, and Americans really enjoy that show. I think you might see a couple of those guys do a couple of commercials, and I think it's gonna be Carragher and Richards together, just because they're like the Charles and Shaq, I would say, of the bunch, if I had to compare those two.
And the fun thing is that it's not just going to benefit the places that are hosting games. I know we got to cut to break. I know we got to get to all sports content, but
no, it's fine.
It
don't matter.
I agree. No, I think it's a good conversation, because the other part of this is too, and it's not just going to directly benefit the teams that are hosting the tournament. It is also going to benefit all the other places in the United States, even in a place like where I'm at or where you're at, because the bars are going to fill up, the restaurants are going to fill up, especially with it being during the summer, and on the weekends, people are going to make days out of it. It's going to be an event on a scale that, soccer is going to be, and not forced is such a weird word. I don't want to say it's forced in front of you, because then it sounds like I grabbed you and forced soccer in front of your face, because I don't think that's what it is. It's just, whoa, but it's going to be around, so it's like, I always like the saying, you don't know what you don't know is the truest saying ever. If you don't know it, you don't know it. The truth is you don't know it. You've never been exposed to it. And I feel that same way with me when it comes to the sport of soccer. I was not exposed to it. Yeah, okay, I played when I was, 5 years old, when all the kids are all bunched up, running all the same direction, the ball, much different, as a young child, just to get me involved in exercising and stuff. But beyond that point, I was not really exposed to the game all that much. I watched the national team once in a while, but that's about it. But I could have used a World Cup here in the U.S. I could have used, these games on TV and seeing it in front of me, or seeing, the parties or whatever else is going on in and around. So that's the important, you don't know what you don't know. And for the ones that don't know soccer, and they don't know the sport, and they've never been, exposed to it, maybe we're going to convert a lot of people into being soccer fans, if, or going from fringe fans to true fans. That's That's the impact in my mind. But it's hard to measure something like that. Yeah.
Real quick, 2 new follows on TikTok, The Pitch and Bill Monroe. Shout out to you two for dropping us a follow here on TikTok. But no, I just searched up the start dates. June 11th is the start day of the World Cup, and the NBA Finals and NHL Finals are right before, like a week before. So the only thing the World Cup's competing with is the dog days of the MLB schedule and minor league baseball. So I don't think any other thing in this country in terms of sports is going to compete with this, like, at all. Like, I'm sorry, Nate. There's not even Sunday Night Baseball anymore. So there's really no reason to watch baseball on a national level outside of your team. I don't even know what the Tigers will be on this year, to be honest with you. Cool jerseys, though. That's cool. But
come on, man. If the Wings are in the Stanley Cup Finals or if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals, we're going to be watching, okay? So you're going to be watching.
I don't see the Red Wings, and to be honest with you, I don't even know if the Pistons make it. That's my personal opinion. They haven't even won a playoff series yet.
We're tortured.
I think they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's my take on what they do. Okay. But no, there's going to be nothing competing for the World Cup in the United States. There's going to be nothing.
Is there a scenario where there's a World Cup game during the same time as a playoff game in a city? Because now I'm imagining where, like, there's a World Cup match going on, but you also have the NHL playoffs or the NBA playoffs at the same time.
NBA Finals, if it gets to Game 5, 6, or 7, June 13th, June 16th, June 19th. So it's definitely a possibility. It just kind of depends on what day, where it's being played at. And it just says for the NHL, it just says June 2026. So there's definitely a possibility. For sure.
Interesting.
So June 4th. So they would be. So there's a June 14th, a June 12th, June 17th, and June 20th. So technically, yes, the NHL will definitely overlap at least by one game for sure. But the extra games are necessary. But there's 100% going to be an MLB overlap in terms of a regular season game. There will be that. So yeah, there will be overlap a little bit, but not a ton, I don't think. It also kind of depends on what team, because obviously, let's say OKC, for example, in the NBA, that there's no games I don't think are over there in Oklahoma City. Boston, obviously, we know that. New York, obviously, we know that. Detroit, no. San Antonio, I don't think has a game, so they couldn't even be in the mix. So yeah, no, there could definitely be it, especially if the Panthers are back in it. There's definitely that. But if a Canadian hockey team is, maybe there's a possibility there too. So, yeah, there's definitely a possibility of that happening. But again, just depends on the teams.
Yeah. At that point, forget about security. It's just a free for all. At that point,
at that point,
if you got those two. No security stopping anybody. It's just it's a freaking tsunami of people. But let's step aside. Coming up next, getting into our all sports content. Talking about tanking in the National Basketball Association. That was something we mentioned yesterday. The betting companies kind of pressing the NBA to address the tanking issue. Ryan, I'm not hopeful that there's ever really going to be a solution, but maybe there is out there. Also, we're going to talk about maybe the Bears moving to Indiana. I think that would be a betrayal for that organization. But before we get to all that, Manchester City Soccer Camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy to players across the United States. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, these camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code MCNSN30 or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you, usacamps.mancity.com. Welcome back inside the game, getting into our all sports content. Ryan, you said a couple people dropped some comments on the show today. We love live comments, by the way. Keep them coming.
USA is adopting the same strategy that my varsity basketball coach had when scheduling non-conference games. So I take it you had a very difficult non-conference schedule. That's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Ultimately, varsity basketball, the non-conference doesn't matter because everyone makes the tournament. So ultimately, just try to get your measuring stick to out-of-conference teams.
Yeah. I remember when, not that I want to talk about my high school football days, like I really care about them, but when I was there, we were very good. The high school I went to won 5 straight state championships, but the thing was that during the non-con, it would always be like Orchard Lake St. Mary's, and it's like, really? Like, we got to go play those guys? Like, they put dudes in the NFL. Like, we don't want to play them, but it's like, I don't know, it teaches, when you get kicked around like that, you're like, it can't get any worse than that. Everybody else seems like playing 15-year-olds after you get smacked around by a team like Orchard Lake St. Mary's. So it's always good to test yourself because it just helps you figure out where you need to go in order to get there.
Tough men soccer. They're the Division III national champs. Coach Desatel we had on the show not too long ago. He was a really good interview. Gave some really good quotes. I know Nate really liked him because he liked Kurt Signetti, and that's Nate's guy. So, he was a really good interview. Gave really good insight, and Coach Desatel was doing a really good job over at the tough men's soccer program and reigning Division III natty champs.
Yeah, well, and as much as I'm sure you and the Indiana fan base don't get along, I'm sure Coach Sig is he seems like a wealth of knowledge in some ways. I just like some of the quotes that he's dropped about the way he conducts himself, especially with not working people overtime. Like, it's crazy to think that if your body and your mind are fresh, that's when you actually perform at your greatest. You don't have to be in the facility until 1 a.m. So I don't know. I like the way he goes about his business, but Kyle Desatel was great. That's a really good soccer program they got down there. I look forward to having him on here in the future because I really think he's built something that they can win national championships and create a sustained model, and so he's certainly done that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Any other comments on there at all?
No, we're good.
We appreciate, by the way, all the live comments. All right. Appreciate you guys dropping those in. Let's get into our all sports content a little bit. Shams Charania had a tweet the other day discussing the tanking yesterday in the National Basketball Association. Does that count as the other day if it was yesterday? Does that still count?
This is all this tweet's about is what the representatives have been saying. This is what he got from representatives about tanking. This is what has been discussed. This is not what actually could happen. This is just what's being discussed from league representatives and all that fun stuff. Potentially some tanking issue or some tanking solutions. The first round picks can be protected only top 4 or top 14 plus. So like no more of that that pick swap stuff. Like where like all of a sudden an NBA team, an NBA title contender, like 5 years prior, gets a pick swap with like a horrible team, and all of a sudden they get like the number 2 overall pick as like the NBA champion. Kind of like what the Thunder and Sam Presti have been doing this year, especially because the Clippers weren't great. Lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. I think that's honestly the best way to do it because at that point you know what you're supposed to do. You can be aggressive at the deadline. Some teams can sell. I think honestly that's one of the best solutions. No longer allowing a team to pick top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. That's an issue that honestly can't happen if you want more parity in the league. Teams can't pick top 4 the year after making the conference finals. I don't know about that. If the team makes that bad of a decision, I don't really see an issue with that. That's the other team's fault. Lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records. I guess I don't mind it. Lottery extended to include all play-in teams. Doesn't it? Oh, including the 7th and the 8th and stuff. Okay. I see that. See that part. Flatten odds for all lottery teams. Yeah, I could see that one as well. But no, personally, I think the ones where you just freeze at the trade deadline is the best one.
Yeah, I mean, I also like the idea of flattening the odds too. I mean, I like the idea of, okay, well, here's our collection of the worst teams. They all have equal odds. Let's figure out who gets the number one pick. But no, I like the idea of freezing it because you're right. Now all of a sudden this creates a scenario where that puts the pressure on the organization to actually make moves, right? To sell, to buy, to do things that are going to set themselves up for the future, because it becomes a priority. You can't just wait out the rest of the year, win, 9 games and then just try to, do everything you can to get the number one overall pick. What's weird to me is that the lottery is such a toss up sometimes though, because it doesn't make sense a lot of times who gets that number one overall pick. Like we've seen it so many times to where the team who really is like 4th, 5th on that list, maybe even further
14th.
down, ends up getting number one overall. Yeah, exactly. Like
trade your
for the
superstar
longest
and all of a
time,
sudden gets the number one overall pick, even though you're a decent team.
Yeah, something weird going on there. And Detroit for the longest time, man, like they just did not get number one picks. Like that's just something they didn't do, whether it be the Detroit, whether
They
it
got
be
Cade.
lottery. They did get Cade. That was one. But outside of that, like we've had a lot of bad years where we've been in that lottery and we just simply haven't gotten it. So the lottery itself is weird. You can't get rid of it. But I like the idea of, you were saying, of freezing at the trade deadline, because again, and it creates for a more exciting trade deadline too. You're going to have more moves. You're going to have more teams taking risk, offloading. So I think that's important, but also flattening the odds as well, because really all this is odds, right? Because you get to a certain point to where every loss in a way is a win, because you're like, it's just simply increasing our odds. Well, if you flatten the odds, and maybe if you include the play-in teams as well, now it's like it's so far up in the air that now you actually have, like, winning actually means something now. It's not like a loss is worth a win. So I certainly think that those are a couple of good ideas. But I mean, the truth is, you just have to get away from losing being incentivized, because that is the ultimate issue. But I think there's a couple of good ones on that list there.
I like that. One of my ideas I said the other day that is actually on there, and that's just freezing the trade, the odds at the deadline. I think there's just two solutions to this thing. You make the top 4 teams play for it, and you don't have. I think maybe you just get rid of the pick swaps at that point. Make the 4 teams play for it. Whatever it is at the bottom, those 4 teams, semifinal and then a final. Play it back-to-back days. I don't think it really matters. Play it in some neutral venue somewhere. What did you say?
Play for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I said
that's what you're saying?
Bottom 4 teams. You have a semifinal, the 2 semifinals, and then obviously you have to have the 3rd place one and solidify the 3rd and 4th place. But after that, then after those 4 play for it, just whoever is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, just like the NFL draft, however they come in that order. That's simple.
It's not going to count towards. So I guess don't you think that would be weird though, to try and convince? I mean, I guess
no. Because
the players would probably want to play,
because you still have to win.
Because you still get the best. I guess so, but it doesn't. Like, imagine getting injured in a game like that, playing for the organization to have the number.
Well,
1
if they're
overall
bad,
pick,
they are bad, and they won't actually be a part of the team's future plans. So,
well, I mean, getting injured isn't being bad. Getting injured is just getting injured.
Nate, if you're a bottom 4 team in the NBA, your team sucks. Your team is trash. So
I get it. No, I just
player gets hurt. I mean,
them playing for the number 1 overall is just, I don't know. It's just I don't know
you just said not incentivized for losing. You have to win to get the number 1 overall pick after being top 4, after being bottom 4.
Right, but they're extra games. They're not a part of the season.
Oh my God, 2 extra games. The NBA Finals. If you do that, you might
NBA
have to play
players,
like a maximum of 28. If you play all game 7,
players, Ryan.
Who cares? It's 2 extra
it's
games.
Not in their contract. It's not in their contract.
What? It's not in their contract. Nate, and I bet you any money they probably have been benched in load management to get up to this point. So, oh my goodness, you got to play 2 extra games. And guess what, Nate? If you play in 7 games if you're in the playoffs and get all the way to a finals, there's a potential you have to play a maximum of 28 extra games.
Oh, I understand.
And then if you sweep
them,
you play 12.
That's for an NBA championship. That's not for a potential draft pick. So I'm just saying, it's going to be
we
tough
need to
convince the
incentivize.
players
You can't incentivize losing. So you have to go
in the
win.
regular season, though. in the regular season, not
Nate,
creating
it's 2 extra
games for them. I get it. I'm not for the organizations themselves. It's a great idea. No, you're right. I mean, that sounds like a fun idea. We only have to win 2 games to get the number 1 overall pick. Works for me.
Get rid of the play-in, and we just have replace the play. Let's kick off the NBA playoffs with a 2-day semifinal and final for the first overall pick. I mean, everyone, we want to incentivize winning. You're incentivized for winning. I don't see an issue with it. And then all the odds, we don't even have a draft lottery anymore because it's just an NFL way the whole way, and we incentivize winning what you just wanted. There we go. And it's 2 extra games.
Money,
does it matter? No.
Maybe a pot for the players that are already there. So you get the number 1 overall draft pick, and then maybe some sort of financial incentive or financial backing for the players that are playing in it. I think something like that could work. I think if you go to whoever it is and you're like, hey, LaMelo Ball, if you play in this, in order to get the number 1 overall pick, we'll give you X amount of money. I could see something like that. No, 100%. So I just think that you would have to convince the players that there's something in it for them, obviously, which is the number 1 overall pick. Like
playoff incentives,
the money. Yeah, in a way. Yeah, exactly. So
I think we didn't think we'd have an argument for 2 extra games. I mean, don't really matter. Or then just freeze them at the deadline. That's the 2 best options for this whole thing. 2 best options. Is there something else? Maybe. But I just laid out 1 option I said the other day, but I said freezing it at the deadline 2 days ago. So basically, I have laid out really good options for the NBA, and I think they should take notice.
You got to call Adam Silver, man.
Adam Silver will make it stupid. No, he's going to make it stupid. He's going to make it a whole separate playoff single elimination. It's going to be stupid.
He's got to be the one to make the final decision, though. So, I mean,
yeah, but Adam Silver thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. No, he's a dummy.
Well, I know the NBA. They've had a few good ideas throughout the years, but not many lately. I feel like they've
they take really good ideas and make them stupid. That's what they do. That's what their kings are doing. That's why this league is at times unwatchable because you don't know what's going on. We have you can do that now in this room. You can have a continuation. You can even go before you're even going up with the shot and take 2 steps and then go up. That's continuation. Who cares at this? Just play basketball. We don't need all these extra things.
Yeah.
NBA tries to be too cute.
It's turned into, and the thing that sucks is like if you watch the playoffs, like I do genuinely like watching the playoffs. Like the NBA playoffs is thrilling. It's just boring. Like the regular season just does not mean nearly as much, and that's the whole reason why we're having this conversation about not tanking is because just the regular season in and of itself is just not. You get to a certain point, and really it is. I mean, I think it's before the trade deadline that we figure out who the contenders and the pretenders are. And really, when it comes to the pretenders, then it's just a matter of just, okay, well, how do we stay afloat and then tanking and then everything else? Like, you don't want your sport to get to a point to where the only exciting time is the playoffs. Because I think about the NFL in comparison to the NBA. NFL, every single Sunday, we're hanging on every matchup.
That's
right?
Not
Because
true. That's not true.
Well, not every matchup, but more often than not, there are more matchups every single week, especially at the end.
The final day doesn't mean anything anymore. For like 2 games, for 2 teams. That's really about it. The playoff picture in the NFL is solidified by like week 15. And then we just have 2 weeks of just blah.
Okay, that's fair at the tail end. But I would say leading up to that point, though, it is a race.
Sure.
And the truth is that I think there is more hype surrounding the NFL regular season than any other professional league, probably by far. Right. I understand that, but it actually means the regular season actually means something. So that's why we've seen the implementation of like the NBA Cup and all these other things, but it doesn't actually mean anything in the long run because it's just become so watered down. The regular season itself has become so watered down. So that's the problem. That's the ultimate overarching problem. Obviously the tanking is a big component of that, but it's hard for people to watch. And yeah, I mean, I've never had the experience of paying to get tickets to go watch an NBA team only to have their best player sit out. But I know people who have, and that's just kind of where we are right now.
Load management. We need load management. Oh my goodness.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it isn't effective. I mean, LeBron's still playing, but is it good for the fans? Is it good for the entertainment component? Probably not. And with the amount of money you're making too, do you really need that time off? Do you really need to
NBA
be
players
sitting
are
on the
paid an
bench?
absurd amount of money.
Like,
it's insane.
I don't care if it's a Tuesday night in Utah. Like, go out and play. You know, even if it's like 5-10 minutes, like people paid a lot of money to come out and see you, and really you, and especially when you're in a position like he is, because, you know, and I'm not just targeting LeBron, but like these are players everywhere.
Feels like
but
you are.
If, you know, well, no, I love LeBron. LeBron's the best, dude. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, for
all
sure,
right?
man.
Let's talk about one of these days. Let's dedicate an entire all sports section to talk about Bron v. Jordan. Okay, I know it was different eras, but we can do that if you wanna get into that. But you're an old soul, so I know you like MJ. You're an MJ guy.
Yeah, he doesn't lose to JJ Barea, Jason Terry, and Dirk Nowitzki in a NBA Finals.
Hey, don't disrespect Dirk like that.
Not 4, not
Dirk.
5, not 6. He won 2. He only lost 2.
Oh yeah, yep. But let's take a break here on Inside the Game. When we come back, this is this story. It kind of pisses me off, and I don't know why it pisses me off, to be completely honest with you, because I don't really even like this organization. But the Bears considering moving rather to Northwest Indiana. I think it is a horrible idea, Ryan Glinski, but let's talk about it on the other end here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Back live on Inside the Game, getting into our final topic here before question of the day today here on the show. Ryan, obviously the NFL season wrapping up, had the Super Bowl, so looking forward to next year. And today, not necessarily talking about anything that's happening on the field. Obviously the Bears are starting to peak with Caleb Williams, and they have Ben Johnson, and they have all the momentum in the world and really building towards, getting back to the promised land. But the biggest story in sports when it comes to the Bears right now has nothing to do with what's happening on the field. It has everything to do with the front office and a potential move to Northwest Indiana and Hammond, Indiana. Now, for starters, nothing has been decided yet.
Honest.
I
It's
don't.
Indiana.
I just because it's Indiana doesn't mean I like it.
Everything Indiana does you like.
But the truth is that Northwest Indiana itself is pretty much Chicago. Okay, so it's the same thing as the Foxborough and Boston conversation. Okay, Hammond, Indiana is not Chicago, but it's essentially Chicago. Okay, so when we look at this, anybody who lives on the South Side, I'm sure they probably go across the border 5, 6, 7 times a week to go to work or to do whatever else, because even South Bend, I mean, going and seeing all my friends there, like
sucks.
it's very much Chicago-esque. South Bend has its things, yeah, but it's
trash.
I didn't realize 1 out of every 4 people in South Bend lives in poverty. That was crazy. I learned that last year. I was like, 25% of the city lives in poverty.
It's not a great area.
That's not great. Oh, I believe me, I've had my door pulled down before when I go down to see him, but whatever, it is what it is. But it is Northwest Indiana is practically Chicago. So moving there, it wouldn't, I mean, in terms of like, it's not like they're moving across the country. It's not like who was it? Who was the organization, the NFL? Wasn't it the Titans that like up and left like overnight? Like didn't say anything, just left overnight. And yeah, I think it was the Titans. But anyways, it's not like one of those situations where they're moving states away. They're only moving over to Indiana. Now, nothing has been decided yet. Okay. But the only reason why, and we see this with people from Chicago moving to or getting, sometimes getting summer homes up in northern Michigan during the summer, or going to other places like Nashville or places along the coast. The reason why you go into a place like Northwest, what's that?
You said up the coast, and you said Nashville, and I was like, hey man.
No, I'm just listing off examples. I just said, North Nashville coast. I was just listing off different examples.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But
I
anyways,
then, my bad.
No. Nashville is not on the coast.
I was like, Nashville on the coast, man? Was I wrong in geography class?
But the reason why you move to Northwest Indiana is for one reason and one reason only, because there is land and there's opportunities for real estate. And this is something that I know that the front office execs and the people, the higher ups at the Bears and even the city itself look at as a potential opportunity, because let's face it, the spaceship is a dump. Soldier Field, okay, it's old. It's been there for forever. It was really fun going to watch that one rugby match that I saw there, but it is kind of a dump. It needs an upgrade. It needs a facelift. And so for the people that, the city itself and the people with the Bears, they're like, well, this is a great opportunity simply because we have the land, we have the space, we can build something state of the art. My issue with it though here, Ryan, is that it just feels in a way like you are kind of abandoning the city of Chicago. Like you're going backwards. I understand that the Pistons played at the Palace in Auburn Hills. They weren't the Auburn Hills Pistons. They were the Detroit Pistons. So it's not ridiculous, and it's been done before. But why can't you just fix up the stadium you already have? Why is this, the
because of all the taxes. Like the city won't, and the governor of Illinois won't do anything. That's the issue.
Yeah.
They tried, and the governor of Illinois was like basically like no, and the Bears were like, we'll pay for everything, and they still said no. So what did Indiana do? They're like, here you go, and here's a massive deal that we'll give you, and they're like, well, I guess we'll do it. To be fair, the Bears have actually done a lot of things of trying to keep them in like the Chicago area, in Illinois, I guess I should say, and like they said they would rebuild, they would tear down Soldier Field and build a new one on that plot of land. Or they would, I think it was Arlington Heights, I think was the city. I think that's the city in Illinois that they're like, yeah, we'll do that too. And Illinois is like, nah. And Indiana's like, we can make a pretty good idea out of this. I mean, we already have the Pacers. We have the Colts. Let's add another one, another NFL team to our state, and they gave them a deal. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It feels like the soul, I guess, of the Bears is going to be snatched from this move, like the heart and soul of the team. And every team has said that when they move stadiums, like the soul kind of comes out of the team, and you kind of have to kind of find that. It might take a while to finally get that. Look at LCA, for crying out loud. It took them, 10 years to finally get a playoff series, and now it kind of feels like LCA is starting to become like a home. And up until that point, it was just like two dead franchises just play their sports there. And you see a couple cool concerts every now and again. But like outside of that, I feel like the soul's going to be snatched from the Bears, and they're going to have to find their own way again in Indiana. Ultimately, I feel like if you stay in Illinois, you're still going to have the same issue. But them moving to Indiana, a different state, I get it. It's like a half hour away from Chicago, from Soldier Field. I get that. But it just feels like, the money aspect in terms of like all the surrounding areas, like it's going to take a big hit, I would say, on the Chicago area. I mean, the White Sox are trash. The Cubs are only relevant because they're like an historic franchise time and time again, so people will always go to Wrigley Field. It's historic. The Blackhawks are pretty trash, and the Bulls are trash. So, yeah.
Well, believe you me, they'll still do okay simply because it's Chicago and simply because if people are in Chicago, they want to go to those places, not necessarily because they're big time Bulls fans, but they want to go there for the status of it all. I mean, like I remember the Wednesday night game I went to against, I don't even remember who they played at United Center, the Bulls, maybe Phoenix. I can't remember who it was, but I mean that place was the Pacers. That was before Halliburton really got into his bag. He was good, but that was before the whole playoff run and everything. But I mean, it was packed. It was sold out, and it was like, wow, it's just a random Wednesday night. So Chicago-based teams always do well. The White Sox is a different story. Jerry Reinsdorf just needs to sell the team. I mean, everybody is
free wins
just gotten to a point. Well, yeah, I mean, it paves the way. It's we'll take it, but no, that's just how that needs to go. And I understand. I get the business opportunity of it, and it's just it feels just because of the history in that building and in that place. And this was always as a Cubs fan, this was the fear for the longest time when it came to Chicago and Wrigley Field. I mean, when you have a building that's been standing since, I don't know, when the Titanic sank, or maybe a couple of years after the Titanic sank, I think is when it was officially released.
Yikes.
Fun fact, by the way, Fenway, the day that they opened the stadium was the day after the Titanic sank.
So April
So
15th?
no one was talking about Boston at all because they were talking about the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean. But anyways, so in a building like that, how do you keep a building like that standing and functional and make it work? I mean, the bathrooms are gross and it's falling apart and, shit's falling over, but they found a way to do it. The city of Chicago found a way to, renovate that place and make it better and build, a place. I know that the Tigers in Detroit, they have like that little, the plaza, and they got all the restaurants and stuff around. It's not like how it is in Chicago. I mean, it's a national landmark to where it's like a carnival, and there just happens to be a game going on. But they found a way to make it work. They found a way to save that building in that stadium in that place. And the Soldier Field, for all the flaws that it has, is still as much of a destination for Chicago fans as anything else. And so you're right. When you talk about the identity component of it, I think it would be hard for players, yes, but I also think it would be hard for fans too, because it doesn't have that same nostalgic, emotional connection that you have to a place like Soldier Field. It is a dump, but it's just, you hate to see politics be played in a place that where, a lot of people have just close emotional ties to something like that, in an organization that does have a rich history. Now, mind you, recently has not been great until they've peaked. Obviously this year they were really good, but there is a lot of that there. So it just feels like maybe not the betrayal by, it would be a betrayal by the organization itself, but also at the same exact time, a great business opportunity. But that's the hard part. And that was something that even with Pistons basketball, like, it's finally, as you mentioned, it's getting back to where it is now. But the Palace was so wrapped up in what Pistons culture was. Like, the Palace was there. The Palace was the Pistons.
And the Shock had two
and
championships there.
And even the malice at the Palace, like it seems like a black eye on the building's history, but it's a part of the building's history. It is, it's Detroit basketball. It's Detroit basketball. Like, it is, that is. So the building can have a lot of emotional ties. So that's all I meant by a betrayal. Obviously, like, but I hate playing politics. I really do.
We played a lot of politics on this show this week. Foxborough, Chicago. But I mean, if you're an NFL franchise and you have to pay more taxes than what the Rams and the Chargers had to do, in L.A., in Chicago, like, the Bears would have to pay more taxes and all that stuff to build a new stadium than L.A. So there's definitely an issue in terms of that. But by the way, I was wrong earlier. The Blake Griffin Pistons played the Bucks in the NLCA, but that team sucked, so it didn't really matter. So I can't really count that. We did not have a respectable team until last year in any sport. So you're definitely going to lose a little bit of your soul. But I mean, there's a couple of NFL teams that aren't in their state or not in their city that they say Cowboys aren't. They're not in Dallas. They're in Arlington. I think San Francisco 49ers they're not in San Francisco technically. Like, aren't they? They're in a different city. They're not actually in San Francisco, I don't think. But no, it happens. But ultimately, I think the state of Indiana did a smart move here, and the state of Illinois is what to blame for all of this.
It's in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, so not San Francisco.
That's where
but no,
it's where the Niners play.
It's just like it's weird to see an historic team like that. Even though only one team makes up their entire franchise, still an historic franchise in a historic area, lose that just because of politics. I think that was funny.
Well, and the other thing is like it's also not the safest part of Indiana. It's
How
not
far is
like
it from
you're
Gary,
moving
Indiana?
to. Gary's in Northwest Indiana. I think it's right around. I think it's right by Hammond. So, yeah. So I mean, it's not like you're moving it to this new wonderful place. It's not like you did the Raiders and you're like, hey, we're going from Oakland, which is just Oakland, I guess, to Vegas. It's not one of those situations. But it's like, yeah, you're moving to Indiana, but it's not like you're necessarily moving out of, not that the area around Soldier Field is all that bad. But anyways, it ain't the safest place in the world. But
Chicago
well, yeah, just in general. But no, I just think I think it would be tough, and I would have to ask, where my Bears faithful, my good friends, where they fall on this. I think it would just be a tough blow, and I think a lot of people would be really disappointed. Would they come around to it eventually? I think absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing with any team when they get a new stadium. I even though it was right across the street from old Yankee Stadium, I'm sure that the people in New York probably felt the same exact way. Like, why new? Where there's so much wrapped up in this building. There's so much history. So they will come around. And honestly, I think this Bears team, this current iteration of the Bears, can make their own history. And so I think that could be something that could certainly help. But it's just it's going to take an emotional hit, certainly on the fan base a little bit, if they do end up making that choice.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, do you want to? I know you put down Club World Cup going from 32 to 48 teams. You want to mention that before we get into question of the day?
Yeah. Yeah, we can certainly do that. Let's take a step aside real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some Club World Cup and have question of the day.
All right, let's do it. Welcome back in on Inside the Game. Now our final topic. I thought we were maybe going to get a half hour out of that last one, but let's talk about this a little bit. The Club World Cup expanding. Then we'll get into question of the day. But from pretty big expansion, 32 to 48 teams. And Ryan, you mentioned, at least in looking at the prep sheet here, a couple of different clubs that should, the pressure kind of falls on their shoulders to now not only be a part of it, but to compete for it. But in 2029, again, as you see, they're expanding to 48 teams, expanding due to teams putting pressure by not in it and increased global competitiveness. Tourney will likely follow the World Cup formats, reported $1 billion broadcasting deal, more prize money, and increasing qualification for European sides. Wow. So Obviously, I
Stupid.
It was a success this year. But
Stupid.
you know, as anything with successful, we need more of it. We need expanded playoffs. We need more games. Blah blah blah. Just another example of it. So you think it's stupid?
Oh, it's so
Why?
stupid because you're putting more games on players that play year round at this point. More injuries. We're going to see more teams not have.
It's like the NFL adding another game to their season. Like, hey, let's have another week. Let's have another game.
This is different, though, Nate. This is different. This is like a full-on new tournament in the summer. So let me lay it out here. So every side, every player that is in a respectable country in terms of the global scale of world soccer, you have. So this year we're gonna have 2026 World Cup. Obviously, next summer we won't have anything. Maybe a Gold Cup or something, but who really cares about that? 2028, then you get your Copa Americas, and then you get your Euros. Then 2029, you're supposed to have a break, but you don't get that break because these leagues these teams who aren't good enough to even qualify for the Club World Cup need to somehow have the need to be in it. And ultimately, if I'm a player, if I don't get fined, I ain't playing in it. It's dumb because you are then playing. If this Club World Cup happens, you would have played all of have 2 to 3 weeks off, maybe a month from 2028 in a 24-month stretch from 2028 to then 2030. You would then have the World Cup's then in 2030. Jeez. So ultimately, I didn't even do the math properly. So from 2028, then 2029, then to 2030, then to ultimately 2031, unless there's some tournament then, you will then have maybe 2.5, 3 months off in a 36, no, 40, trying to do the math, 36, there's the math, 36. In 36 months, you will have a maybe 3 months off this whole thing. Unless you're injured, that's completely different. But of just rest from teams, from your team, from your country, your club, you'll have maybe 3 months off in a 36-month stretch. You're telling me we're not killing these guys? You're telling me we're not killing these players? That's absurd.
Yeah.
These players who are expected to play week in, week out for their clubs, if they're the highest of the highest, this is why I ultimately say Lamine Yamal is going to burn out at some point because of what he's doing at such a young age. I mean, there's not discrediting for what he's doing at the age of 16 and 17. No, not at all. But ultimately, this kid's going to be burnt out. I think Mbappe is going to be burnt out in a couple of years because of how well he's played and even at a young age for him. But these players are being killed, ultimately. And if I'm a player, the Club World Cup, sure, the club makes a ton of money, I guess, in terms of prize money. But ultimately, if I'm a player, I'm like, I don't want to play in this. Give the academy kids a run. That's what I'm doing. I don't take a ton of stock in the Club World Cup. Chelsea fans just love to because, I mean, when you have a squad of 40 players, that's sure you're going to have a little rotation. But now these teams are going to they're going to have to spend more. They're going to new players. They're going to have a massive squad to carry everywhere. So more money in wages, more money in transfer fees, more money for everything. And you're just killing these players. I get it. It's cool, I guess. But just there's no reason for the Club World Cup out. I guess I get it. Money, I get it. But there's no reason. You are killing these players. I just gave it to you. I just mapped out how many months they're going to get off in a 3-year stretch. You're killing these guys. And then some of these players play 3 times a week for their club. If they're in the Champions League, if they're in the Prem, if they're in the Bundesliga, La Liga, if they're one of those top sides, they're playing 3 times a week. It's horrible.
Yeah. Well, money is the reason. Yeah, I mean,
I get it. Ultimately.
I remember, follow the money is always the old adage, right? And you'll get the answer that not that you want necessarily, but you'll get the truth. And certainly, what the truth is that they saw how much of a success it was. They saw the money they made, and they're like, okay, well, we need to expand it. We need more teams. We need to include more sides, and everything. They say everything is good in moderation. Not necessarily. I mean, you see something good, and you're like, I want more of it. It was a success. I want more. I want to build on it. And so that's all it is. A lot of people, the broadcasting deal, the organizations, the clubs themselves, especially if they win, it's a big deal for them. but it is all at the expense of the players. And that is the problem here, because I figure the players themselves would definitely have an issue with it. And you are, in a lot of ways, it is, you're running them ragged. And that's something that you've obviously talked about a lot, multiple times, is just, it seems like they're kind of the puppets in the experiments that FIFA wants to do, and adding teams and doing all these extra things. So, like, you're right. I think the extra games are not necessary. And I think that there are several other classic examples of, like baseball. I think the season's too damn long. I think the NFL thinking about adding extra weeks to the season. I know it's not the same thing. I know it's apples and oranges, okay? But I'm just saying, in general, we don't have to keep adding more, because, again, we're doing it all at the expense of the players themselves. And so, there is 100%, there is burnout. And to be honest with you, I mean, in hindsight, I think about some of the U.S. players who, took a little bit of a hiatus during the summer. It's like, okay, maybe I didn't understand it at that moment, but, like, I can also see where you have to be intentional about where you find time to let your body rest when you play this sport, because it really is all year long. I mean, the soccer schedule is even longer than the baseball one. And I remember talking to Neil Rule about that once upon a time. He's like, it's longer. Like, it's you don't play as many games, but it's over a longer stretch of time. And even for the players in these European leagues, like, I don't know, it all depends how many total games they play, especially when you're in a World Cup cycle. I mean, it's ridiculous. So how does your body hold up? Again, it's all greed. It's greed, man. It's greed. That's what it is. It's greed. There's an opportunity to make more money. We have a good thing. How do we make it better? So that's it. So there's a bottom line for someone somewhere out there. And whether or not, Lamine Yamal has an injury is, I think it would be detrimental, but, I guess you're willing to play danger games in order to see where the money brings you. Well, let's get into question of the day.
Yeah, real quick, 2 shout-outs. PW and Woody have just dropped us a follow on TikTok. Shout-out to you guys. But yeah, question of the day, of course, presented by Salt Athletic, the official sponsor of us at the National Soccer Network. And question of the day, use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off on that #1 smell-proof cleat bag that works. Visit saltathletic.com today or scan that QR code. Only one entry today for it, so Ryan Yutzler, you are the winner. The only one entry of the day, or the week. So, again, you'll be winning the Salt Athletic bag. If you want to win next week, if you want to enter, just drop us a follow on Instagram at NatSoccerTV. Drop us a follow. Must be following us to enter. Tag a friend and comment #NSN Salt giveaway. But question of the day, of course, there's gonna be a little bit of a video element to this one. But again, there's no sound, so we can comment over it. But I actually got the framing looking right today. But anyway, question of the day: how do you tear your ACL by playing poker? I saw this morning, and there's this guy right here. Watch him. Oh, God. Just ACL. Gone. Look at him. He just celebrated winning poker, a non-contact sport, and now he's hurt. And I honestly just thought this was like a bit or something based on the commentators, but this is a real thing. And he just tore his ACL. Look at him. And then there's this guy that's going to come in the frame right about here. Yeah, this guy right here. He ultimately says, well, they don't. Well, they do say that they can't say now that poker is not a real sport because a guy just tore his ACL. But look at him right there. Boom. ACL snapped. Gone.
Yeah, man. You know what scares the hell out of me is sometimes it is like that. Sometimes it just goes. You're a little too excited. You're jumping around. You're not paying attention. And you know what the scariest thing in the world is? If you've ever landed with like a straight leg before and you feel your knee kind of like do that like shaking thing where it's like side to side, you're like, oh my God, I was that close to it just being gone, just ripping right in half. And so, yeah, it probably landed weird, probably landed with his foot not the right way. And yeah, ended up ripping that thing. That is,
the weird, if I was him, I would just be pissed that like I did this celebrating a poker game where, I'm walking into this poker game and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come out walking on 2 legs, no problem, and be able to function properly tomorrow, the next day. But now I got to go get surgery on an ACL because I was celebrating a poker game. Yeah, the guy probably won a ton of money ultimately, and guess what? Now you got to pay your medical bills. So that's
exactly. Yeah, you got to turn around and spend that money on your medical bills. But the nice thing is not having an ACL doesn't affect your ability to play poker. You can still very much play poker without an ACL. You actually could have no legs and still play poker and still be very good at it. So I think this guy, whether or not he has a leg and a half, 2 legs, 1 leg, half a leg, it really doesn't matter. He can still play poker and still win. So, just saying, you don't really need, like, if you're playing, basketball, you need your ACL. Well, unless you're Kobe Bryant. He didn't need an ACL to make those free throws.
Yeah, that's Kobe, though. That's a completely different. That guy's not real.
Wait, his Achilles. Never mind. Achilles, not ACL. But anyways.
He's not a real person either. Kobe's just, like, built different. He's like Mendoza, no, because Mendoza's not Kobe. Mendoza's just not real. He's just too nice. He's just like, I don't know. He's just not a real person. Kobe's not a real person because, like, the stuff he'd, like, play through to play a game is just, like, that's just robot. He's almost like, who's the Dodgers pitcher? Sasaki? Yamamoto? Is that his name?
Yeah, Yamamoto.
Who, like, pitched a game, like, 2 games before, didn't have, like, all the proper days off, then all of a sudden does that in Game 7. Like, that guy's not real either.
No, Fernando Mendoza is AI generated.
Yeah.
100%. No, he is your friendly neighborhood robot. But I love it personally. I love it. I'm an Indiana stand through and
That's
through.
why I thought you would like to move to Indiana. It gives your state a little bit more recognition. I'm surprised you're not a Notre Dame guy.
Give my state more recognition. Where do I live? Where do people think I live? That should be the question
Bloomington?
on here. Does he live in Boston? Does he live in Foxborough? Does he live in Indiana? You only mentioned Grand Rapids about 80 times throughout the course of this show, so you never know. But anyways, that'll wrap up episode 234 here on Inside the Game. It has been a great week, a fun week, a lot of fun people on the show. Again, we're going to continue to bring on new people each and every week, so make sure you keep it locked. And until we talk to you guys on Monday, this has been another week of Inside the Game.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.